Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the biggest shakeups in literary history, a full-blown revolution powered by two incredible and incredibly different minds who basically decided art needed to find its soul. So let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the core of what this whole romantic revolution was about. For ages, art was supposed to be like this perfect, polished mirror, right? It was meant to reflect society, its rules, its reason. But then these two poets came along and asked, hey, what if art wasn't a mirror at all? What if it was a lamp, something that shines from the inside out, lighting up the wild, personal, messy world inside every one of us? So yeah, a poetic revolution. Before all this, poetry was, well, it was kind of stuffy. It had to follow a very strict set of rules. This was the neoclassical age, and it was all about logic, order, and being very polished. But you could feel something bubbling under the surface. A rebellion of the heart against the head was definitely on its way. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. You can practically see the battle lines being drawn. On one side, you have the old guard, neoclassicism. Everything is about reason, order, what's good for society, and universal truths. But then, boom. On the other side, the romantics crash the party, and they just flip the whole script. It's all about raw emotion, your own personal experience, and the power of pure imagination. The fuse was officially lit in this one single year, 1798. Two friends, William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, they get together and publish this little book of poems called Lyrical Ballads. But this wasn't just a book. Oh no, this was a statement. It was basically a declaration of war on the old way of doing things, and it is the official starting pistol of the Romantic Age in England. And here it is. This was their mission statement, their manifesto. Wordsworth drops this line in the preface to the book, and it is absolutely electrifying. The theory was totally radical. Poetry isn't something you carefully construct with your brain. No, it's something that should erupt, just burst out of you straight from the heart. Pure, unfiltered, powerful feeling. Okay, so let's zoom in on the first of these revolutionaries, William Wordsworth, and see how he started building this brand new world. He didn't look for inspiration in, Greek myths or big city life. Nope, he looked right outside his window to the quiet, powerful, and often overlooked world of nature. Wordsworth's whole vibe was just so grounded, so deeply human. He truly believed you could find the most profound truths not in fancy words, but in the simple lives of farmers and shepherds. To him, nature was a teacher, almost a god, and so the language of poetry shouldn't be complicated. It should be the real language people actually speak. I mean, this quote from his poem Tintern Abbey says it all, doesn't it? For Wordsworth, nature wasn't just some pretty background scenery. It was a living, breathing force. It was his guide, his healer. It was the anchor that kept his soul in place. It was literally everything to him. And this is where his genius really shines. He could take something as simple as seeing a field of daffodils and turn that memory into a source of joy he could tap into forever. Or he'd hear a girl singing to herself in a field, and that simple song would become this huge, timeless mystery that echoed in his heart for years. He showed us that the biggest, most epic stories are happening all around us, all the time, in the quietest places. Okay, but his partner in crime, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, took this whole romanticism thing in a completely different and way stranger direction. If Wordsworth was the voice of nature and the everyday, Coleridge was the voice of the wild, untamed imagination. Man, Coleridge was the ultimate dreamer. His genius was making the totally unbelievable feel completely real. He wasn't interested in farms and fields. He was all about ghost ships, enchanted palaces, and the haunted, trippy landscapes of the human mind. For him, imagination was this godlike power that could literally create new realities. And he actually gave us this brilliant idea that we still use all the time. Coleridge said that for any of this magical stuff to work, the reader has to make a pact with the writer. You have to willingly suspend your disbelief. You just decide to go along for the ride, no matter how wild it gets. It's the reason we get scared during a horror movie, even though we know it's fake. And he puts this idea to the ultimate test in his most famous poem. I mean, sure, the story has ghosts and spirits and all sorts of spooky stuff, but the curse isn't just about that. The sailor is really being haunted by his own guilt. Coleridge uses all that supernatural craziness as a terrifying mirror to explore what's going on deep inside the sailor's soul. So you've got Wordsworth's world of sunny fields, and you've got Coleridge's world of creepy moonlit phantoms. they seem like they're from different planets. So how in the world do these two totally opposite visions come together to create one single cohesive revolution? This table really just nails it. You see them side by side and you realize they weren't opposites at all. They were two sides of the exact same coin. Wordsworth's job was to take the ordinary world and make us see how extraordinary it is. And Coleridge's job was to take the extraordinary world of dreams and nightmares and make it feel real. And in the end, that's their real legacy, the thing that changed everything. Their combined work taught us that the most important stories aren't about kings and queens or huge historical events. No, the most important stories are about the inner life of one single person. They turned the poetic mirror inward and made our own emotions, our memories, our imaginations the new frontier for art. Which leaves us with one final thought. Here we are in a world that runs on data, on logic, on algorithms that predict what we want. In a world like this, what room is there for their revolution? What's the value today of just a spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling? Maybe, just maybe, 200 years later, their rebellion of the heart is more important and more necessary than ever before.